Welcome back. We're talking about needs and how you can get your needs met. We're working through the Get What You Need workbook, which is free. You can get it through the download link in the show description. And I'm Jen. I'm a holistic family consultant, and I support queer, non monogamous, and neurodiverse families toward relationships that feel connected, joyful, and in which everybody thrives and nobody is sacrificing any part of themselves or what they need to be in a relationship. So we are working through the sections of the Get What You Need workbook, and we're talking about creative problem solving. And if you have not worked through the other sections of the workbook, please go back and work through them. We really like to skip past all of the gooey, difficult, challenging inner work of the beliefs and skills sections. But if we don't do that work, we get really stuck when we try to do the creative problem solving. So if you've already done those sections and you get stuck on the creative problem solving, it may be that there's more to explore in those, or it may be that you could use an outside perspective. You could use to ask somebody to help you brainstorm possibilities, because sometimes we also just don't know what might work until we get a good brainstorming session going. So the creative problem solving section is your brainstorming session. Once you've identified a need and you've worked through some of the barriers that might be in the way, making it challenging to get that need met. Now, this is the part where we're going to see what you can do to try to get the need met better. So if you get to this part and you get stuck, the very first thing that's helpful is to recognize that naming that you have a need and saying I'm really seeing that I need more sleep and I don't know how to make that happen right now. That's already a gift to yourself, even if you don't see the solution right now. It doesn't feel as good as if you can say, I need more sleep and I figured out how to do it. That feels better. But it is also a gift to recognize that it's there and that it's valid. And so telling yourself that you recognize the need and also my need is important. And I'm going to try to figure out how to get my need met because my needs matter and I matter. That's already a gift and it's important. So if you get stuck and you're not figuring out the strategies that will help you with your need, start there. Start with the naming and validating that your need matters and you matter. And then working through the specific questions in this section, uh, I ask you at the beginning of this to imagine what would it be like if this need was met. And for some people, it may be like, oh God, I don't even know. I can't even imagine. And that's also information. That's information that this is a need that has been really profoundly unmet for a long time. If that's the case, you can think about how would you like it to feel? What would you like it to be like? It can also be an indication that you might need a smaller or intermediate step. So if you've identified a really, really big need, like I have a need for healing, and healing could be, a lifelong journey depending on what it is that you're working on healing. So it might be that that is so big and so all encompassing that it's hard to break it down into a concrete step. So it might be helpful to go back to the start and look at the needs list and think about, is there a need here that would make it easier for me to meet my need for healing? Like if I had more joy, I would have more energy to work on healing. Or if I had more connection with other people, I would have more capacity for healing, that kind of thing. So, is there an intermediate step, a need that feels a little bit smaller and less overwhelming that would help you move towards the bigger need that you identified? That can be one place to go if you need to not have it be so big and overwhelming. It's also okay to imagine what would it be like if this need was met just a little bit more than it is now. If it's hard to imagine the need being like fully met and satisfied, you can imagine like what if this need was met like 10% more than it is currently. Um, the next piece is that I asked you to feel like what is it when you've imagined like, oh, my need is met. What is that like in your body? And the reason for that is that identifying uh, what satisfaction and relief what having what you need feels like in your body can help you as you move through, so that solution might not be possible. But if you can connect with even a little piece of what that satisfaction feels like inside your body, and we're thinking here of like an adjective and a body part. We're playing Mad Libs. So it could be warmth in my chest. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. A descriptive word, warmth, loose, soft, something like that in my body part, a specific body part where you feel that sensation. That's the kind of thing we're looking for. That can be helped to use as a guide as you identify, okay, maybe I can't do that, but I could do this little thing. I could try doing this and see if it helps. The see if it helps part is, does it give you that sensation in your body? That's how you know whether or not it worked. If you decide I'm going to try to get my need for sleep met by going to bed an hour earlier, and then you try it and you're like, ugh, I feel grumpy and resentful and my chest feels tight and my jaw feels tight because I don't want to be in bed right now and I'm not tired, then okay, this is not the right strategy. We come back and we try something different. If you go to bed an hour early and you're like, oh, I feel that softness in my belly that I felt when I was imagining my need for sleep being met, then we know, okay, this is a strategy that's helping. Whether or not it is the complete finished solution, it's helping if it's conjuring up the sensation in your body that reminds you of this fantasy world in which your need is completely met and everything is glorious and wonderful. So another piece here in these prompts that I want to draw out a little bit more is there's a prompt that's talking about what would it be like if somebody was helping you, and I want to draw out a little bit of complexity here because there's sort of two things that are happening. One of them is asking for help, and one of them is taking responsibility for our own needs. And for different people, and depending on your attachment history and your relationship history and lots of other things you've been socialized with, like in the beliefs section, different pieces of this may be more present for you. So for some of us were taught that you must meet all of your own needs. You must be completely self-sufficient, hyper independent. You can never ask for help. Asking for help is a sign of weakness, and it's shameful to ask somebody to help you. And that kind of hyper independence. And one of the things that we might really need to work on in order to get a need met is being willing to reach out for help and asking somebody like, I would love to get together and catch up with you, but I don't have the energy to host right now. Would you be willing to bring dinner and we'll eat together and catch up? The asking for help might be the hard part. For other people, for some of us were taught to be very dependent and to have an expectation that somebody else will know our needs, anticipate our needs, meet them for us without needing to be asked. Particularly, some of us internalize this about partners. My partner should just know what I need and meet my needs. And if they love me, they'll meet my needs. And so when a partner is like, I don't have the energy to do this for you, it feels like an abandonment. It feels like we're not loved. It feels devastating. And so for people in that boat, the empowering part might be recognizing that actually the power and responsibility for my needs does not reside in my partner, it resides in me. And I have the power to be creative about what other strategies other than my partner I can employ to get this met, like asking a friend to help make dinner instead of your partner, or something like that. So, exactly what the strategy is obviously depends on the need you're trying to get met and the relationships that you're looking at. But I just really want to acknowledge the complexity of, depending on your history, it might be the meet this how can this need be met without relying on somebody else, or it might be the how can I be a little bit less self-reliant and a little bit more willing to accept help. And it could be either. It can even be both because we are complex beings like that. And if you need more help untangling that, I will invite you to reach out to me directly, and we'll dig into it more. Um, Another piece that sometimes comes up for people in this section is, as you're thinking about strategies, rather than coming up with something new and novel that you haven't tried before or haven't considered before, you might just realize like you used to do a thing, like you used to do 15 minutes of stretching every day. And then you were moving and you were too busy and you kind of forgot about it. And now it's been 6 months since you stretched and your shoulders hurt. And you might realize, like, oh, actually, what I need to help my shoulders stop hurting is just to go back to the stretching every day. So that's great. It doesn't have to be a new and novel strategy. If it helps you be reminded of there's a thing that has worked in the past, and if you do that again, it might help again, great. That's fantastic. That's a win for this workbook. Uh, any of these things, whatever you come up with that seems like it might be helpful, the really important thing that I want you to take away here is that you try it and then you see if it works. You see if it feels good. You see if the need feels like it's more met than it was before. And again, it does not have to be perfect. It can be like, okay, that was like a 20% improvement. What else do I need? Do I need to do more of this strategy? Do I need another strategy in addition? Do I need to modify it in some way? It's iterative. I want you to bring the energy of like creativity and play and experimentation, and we're just exploring, and every iteration is just information. It worked, it didn't work, great. It's all good. There's no wrong way to try something, and it's far better that you try something and then find out whether or not it worked and go from there. Iterate. Try something else, or try the same thing more, or realize you hit the nail on the head, whatever it is. But trying something rather than waiting for everything to be perfect is the way that we get our needs met in reality, mindful of all of the real and true systemic and logistical barriers that we identified under the belief section. I said I'd come back to that, and that's this part, is that because of the systemic and logistical barriers, the perfect solution may not be accessible, or it may not be accessible right now. And so acknowledging those barriers and trying to do the best we can within that imperfect framework is the way that we make incremental improvements. And if we hold off on having nothing until we get perfect, that might not happen. And in some ways, the incremental changes and improvements end up sometimes opening up more possibilities of getting closer and closer to what's really ideal. But starting with something small, and letting go of the expectation that it's going to be everything at the beginning is really important to being able to really try and see where that can get you. So I cannot stress enough the importance of that sense of play. So at this point, we have looked at all 4 steps when it comes to talking about your own needs. We've identified the needs, we've talked about the beliefs that you have consciously or unconsciously, we've talked about the skills that you already have or that you're going to work on improving, and we've looked at the creative problem solving and maybe come up with something new. And hopefully, after working through this a bit, and maybe some play and experimentation with the strategies, hopefully your need is feeling a little bit more met. And the next video, we're going to talk about what if there's a conflict between your need and somebody else's, and how you can address that, and how you can bring compassion for both yourself and the other person. So you can find that video next in the playlist. You can get in touch with me and get your workbook copy through the links below the video.